Let's start off with my number one pick this week over at Cinematics. There's a caveat to that though. Here it is. And it's only coming out in select theaters on Friday, March 28th. But please look out for this movie in the coming weeks. In the first couple weeks of April, it'll have a bigger release. So March 28th, it comes out, but The Ballad of Wallis Island will be having a staggered release from the next several weeks. But thanks to Focus Features for letting me be able to talk about this movie, which unfortunately Bruce Perky and Eric Holmes missed, and hopefully down the road they might be able to see it. Here's a plot synopsis for The Ballad of Wallis Island. The movie centers on Charles, played by Tim Key. He's an eccentric lottery winner. He lives alone on an island, on a remote island, and the only people that live on an island is Charles. He owns a home in the island and another woman and her son. That woman has a sort of convenience store at her home where she gets products shipped into the island so Charles can buy them and use them at his domicile. So it's a very weird just setup in the beginning. It gets weirder though because Charles, again, he is that millionaire who lives on that island with that other woman in the convenience store. But Charles, he hires this guy named McGwyer Mortimer. Oh, McGwyer and Mortimer. McGwyer is what was the name of the yes, Herb McGwyer, played by Tom Basden. And McGwyer is a former folk. Well, he's currently a singer. He's a pop singer. He is a musician, but his days are a little bit not numbered, but they're not as pop. He's not as popular as he was before. That said, McGwyer, again played by Tom Basden, is a very important figure in Charles's life, and Charles hires McGwyer to actually play for him on that remote island in Wallis Island. But the catch is, what McGwyer doesn't know is his former lover and his songwriting partner and fellow collaborator, played by Carey Mulligan, she actually shows up on the island as well. Because, yes, Charles hired them both to play for him a concert, basically a concert for one, because he has really great memories of McGwyer and Carey Mulligan's character. What is her name? I'm going to look it up right now on IMDb. She plays Nell Mortimer. So they were basically known as McGwyer and Mortimer, and they were a very popular folk duo back in the day, not so popular that much now. And they are reunited for this one-off concert at Wallis Island with an audience of one that is Charles, played by Tim Key. What's interesting about this movie, there's a lot of many interesting things about this movie, is it was originally a short called The One and Only Herb McGwyer Plays Wallis Island, which was released in 2007. And that short was directed by James Griffith. So now, some 17 years later, James Griffith, the director, comes back, as well as Tim Key and Tom Basden, this trio of friends. They made a short back in 2007, and lo and behold, years later, they come back to make an expansive version of the short, which is now called The Ballad of Wallis Island. And they also add A-list actress Carey Mulligan into the mix. And that's a very good win for all three of them, including Mulligan, who's very good in this movie. What's interesting about, okay, so Eric, what is your thoughts? Two singers who used to be lovers, they're reunited in the island because a millionaire hires them to do a concert in a remote island. What do you think is going to happen at the rest of the movie if you were the writer or you're watching? What do you think is good? A predictable movie? Give me your honest vibes on the
They do the show, and then they come back and record rumors.
very cool. Yes, Fleetwood, very good Fleetwood Mac
I
reference.
all I'm hearing is Fleetwood Mac biopic, but
Hey, that's very astute, Eric Columbus. But what's great is The Ballad of Wallace Island. I thought it was going to be one thing. Hopefully this will whet your appetite. It becomes a completely different thing towards three quarter, or maybe almost more than halfway throughout the movie. There's a little bit of a slight shift as far as the temperature of what happens in the story, which I found really cool because you get to see this Charles guy who's a millionaire. He has, even though he has a lot of money and he can retire comfortably on that island, there is a lot of depth to him and there's a lot of sadness and bittersweet pain in his life. As far as the McGwire character played by Tom Basden, he's a guy who is reliving the glory, not reliving the glory days. his glory days are behind him, and he's become more of a jaded musician. And there, you, as the movie unfolds, you realize why he's a bit cynical towards life. Carey Mulligan, as as Mortimer, Nell Mortimer, she's in a different place. She's married and she has other things going on in her life. The question is, will Mortimer and McGwyer, will they reunite? Will their reunion be good? Kind of like that Fleetwood Mac reunion, which has its ups and downs, as if you know anything about the Fleetwood Mac history. But what about the history of these two musicians on Wallis Island? Will that remote location lead to a reignition or reignite their love? Will Charles become friends with these singer-songwriters? What will happen? And it's a really interesting mystery in one sense, but it's a great, resonant, emotional, and just great drama. It's in theaters March 28th in select theaters, and then it'll actually expand in coming weeks. I'm giving this movie 4.5 stars. It's PG-13, 100 minutes. I really loved every single second of this movie. The final moments where you figure out what happens is didn't make me really tear up, but it's a nice, very cool way to end a movie. So again, please put, if you're looking for some good music, there's original music for this movie, really good acting, and just it's going to be in theaters. It's worth watching because when you say, I forgot where this movie was shot, it says Wallis Island. The island itself, I can imagine on a big screen will look very gorgeous as well. And plus, you have some really great acting from Tim Key, Tom Basden, and Carey Mulligan. Again, that is The Ballad of Wallis Island, 4.5 stars from me. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.